Hi there, everyone, and welcome to The Pink Atheist. I'm your host, Rachel Johnson. Now, I don't always use this arena, and I think that the reason is because Blog Talk is so much easier. But I don't want to give them all the props. So I just want to talk about tomi-lahren. And I attempted to do a show earlier on Blog Talk. You can find me on there at The Pink Atheist. And apparently, letting a 5-year-old play with your headset isn't the most brilliant idea that you're ever going to have. Because I did, and somehow the microphone got muted, so there was no volume, and I'm going to have to redo the show. However, to the 20-some minutes that I was talking, I apologize to my listeners because I really wanted to do something. I think it's important to talk about these issues, and I don't often get time to do a show because I'm busy and I have a lot going on in my life. However, I think it's important for us to stop and talk about these things, and if you hear anything in the background, that's just my fan. I'm not turning it off, because it's actually keeping me cool, and it's a nice day here. I'm in Ohio, and I know that on Blog Talk I get a lot of listeners from around the world, so wherever you're from, I'm glad you're here. I enjoy the fact that you listen to me, and I think that that's wonderful. But so I want to talk today about tomi-lahren, and then I want to also talk about Donald Trump and the corruption of this administration. Now, there's a lot that goes on every day here in America, especially having Donald Trump as president. But here's what happened. Tomi-lahren apparently was out with her mother at brunch, and a lady who was angry at the things that she has said threw water on her. Now, you have to imagine that this girl is 23 years old and she has made millions from what she has said in the past. And, she has said things like immigrants don't belong here if they can't learn the language. But then, we discovered that her great-grandparents came here, they didn't learn the language. And, sociology and anthropology will tell you that this is common, that first-generation immigrants often don't learn the language, but their offspring, their children do in subsequent generations. And that's because they want to fit in. And it's a phenomenon well known. This is why we have the cultural diversity that we do here in America. But it's also why, you can go down the street and you can have Chinese food right next to Italian food, right next to French cuisine, right up the street from Mexican cuisine. So, this diversity is what makes America a wonderful place to be. But then she also said that, and I'm paraphrasing her here. She said that you should go into a Whole Foods and take the food from a liberal, cut in line with your 10 kids. I don't know who has 10 kids, but apparently somebody out there she thinks does. So you should do that and see how they feel about you taking their food and resources. But what she doesn't understand is immigrants, whether documented or otherwise, they actually lend to this country. They bring a lot to the table. Literally, okay? So, without these people coming from other countries and willing to work in the fields picking fruit, willing to work in meat packing plants, cutting and dealing with these meats, we probably wouldn't have it as much, and there would be plenty of fruits laying in the field rotting. And she doesn't realize this, and I think that that's because, part of her privilege here in America is having grown up to where she doesn't need to do any of this. She's probably never gardened a day in her life, let alone seen that these poor people work 12 and 16 hours a day in the broiling hot sun, especially in California where it's so dry. I mean, dry heat is technically better than damp heat, but there's really no point at which excessive heat feels good for anyone. So, she said these things, and a lady was obviously upset by her racist and bigoted, ignorant attitude, and threw water on her. And I have a controversial opinion because, I've said it in the past, sometimes you've got to punch a Nazi. And I truly believe this, okay? I'm not saying that you need to go out and kill people who disagree with you or think differently or are bigots. I'm not saying to go that far as to beat them to a bloody pulp. What I am saying to you is that sometimes you have to stand up against these bad ideologies. And you may say, well, violence is never the answer. Well, sometimes violence is the answer. If we would have said to the Nazis, stop being bad, we don't like what you're doing, and just sat there, Nazi Germany would have continued. The fact is we had to get up, we had to go to battle with them, we had to fight the Nazis, we had to win. And things that are said become ideas, ideas become actions, actions can have devastating effects, like 6 million Jews being put to death in gas chambers. And so I want you to understand that sometimes, because I'm sure that there were good people in Germany. I'm very sure. Now, I've seen a map of all of the death camps that existed. There was one in every town. So, maybe not a ton of good people. But there were some good people. And they sat on the sidelines and said, well, I don't agree with this. But because they did nothing, ideas like Hitler's took hold. Ideas like Trump's are taking hold. And it's causing this slippy slide, this tax up your butt, fire from hell, greased up, razor bladed up, slippy slide into hell of fascism to occur. And we have to fight that idea forward. People like Richard Spencer, Seb DeGorka, Tomi-Lahren, Sean Hannity, Dinesh D'Souza, all of them cannot find comfort within the bounds of this country because it actually makes them find themselves more powerful. Somebody who's angry at somebody else can suddenly become a listener, and that listener can become an actor, and that actor can lead another group to act as well. And we are already seeing hate crimes on the rise. So sometimes, for the good of humanity, you have to punch a Nazi. And I just want to run down a list of the things that have gone on with Trump today. I mean, besides the meeting with the DOJ, which was completely inappropriate and out of any social norm that you could ever imagine. We found out that his lawyer, Michael Cohen, took payments from the Ukraine. His partner is going to go ahead and cooperate with the government so that he doesn't have to do jail time. So Michael Cohen's partner, who has something to do with taxi medallions, I don't even understand what that is, honestly. But he's going to go ahead and testify against Michael Cohen. So we know that the Ukraine gave Michael Cohen money. We don't know where that money wound up or how it wound up there. But in further news of Donald Trump's twisted onion reality land, which, by the way, Michael Cohen sent a threatening letter to the Onion saying that they needed to not pick on him and that, he would sue them. And this was a while ago. But you have Trump saying, well, I would meet with Mueller, but he might have different truths than I do, which, of course, is a code word for I'm going to go in there and lie, and Mueller's going to have different facts than what I'm going to say to him, and I'm going to get caught up in my own lies and convicted. Now, it's hard because Donald Trump does, in fact, act like a mafia don, but it would actually benefit Mueller. So, you have that, and then Trump lost a case that went before the Supreme Court about him blocking people on Twitter. So, if you are blocked by Donald Trump on Twitter, look forward to the fact that he has to unblock you. What else? I know Michael Avenatti has dug up a lot of evidence about what's going on and exposed other crimes that I'm sure that the DOJ is looking into. It came out today that the FBI agent has been exposed his identity, so of course now his career is over thanks to Donald Trump. And he was not planted as a spy in the Donald Trump campaign. He is actually, his job, and he's worked with other campaigns, he's actually infiltrated to help prevent foreign nationals from being able to influence incoming presidents. And so what happened was he got caught up in that. He was not a spy. He was actually doing a job trying to prevent, other countries from doing the things that they were already doing with the Trump campaign, bribing officials, making shady backdoor deals, things like that, and come to find out that, those were already being done. So that's another thing that's going on. And, I worry about this country so much. And I think that we all have a lot to be worried about because this country has gone to new depths that it never has. Like in the past, Republicans would have never sat on the sidelines when a leader, no matter who they were, a president, demanded that the DOJ show them evidence. Democrats wouldn't have given such a big whiny answer about it. If Bill Clinton had done this when he was being investigated, if Richard Nixon had done this when he was being investigated, the uproar would have been astounding. And we have Donald Trump committing these acts, and literally there's silence from the GOP. We are reaching a critical point here in America where it's either going to be rise up or lose democracy forever. This corruption level is heightening. It's not calming back down. When Donald Trump can make fascist demands upon organizations that are sworn to defend the people of the United States and not the president, people that work for the people of the United States, even the president himself works for the people of the United States. All of these people in all of these offices have 300 million bosses, Republican and Democrat. All of us. We are all their bosses. And the reason that they get to be there is because we vote, we pay taxes, we say who we want to represent our voice. And the fact that it's being represented so badly right now and being misused and abused, and this man thinks that there's no consequences to his behavior, he can fire whoever he wants at whim unless they cow down to him, is absurd. This is something that has not happened in the history of these United States, and something that we should all be offended by. And I know it's hard. It's very hard because it's exhausting. The daily news flood, the overwhelming ocean of garbage spewing from DC right now is sometimes too much to take in. I mean, I sit there on my Twitter feed and I just scroll and I'm like, wow, I can't, wow, what? And just like the NFL today came out with a new ruling saying that they can fine a team if somebody takes a knee, that you can remain in the locker room, but if you come out on the field, you have to stand and put your hand on your heart, which I think is absolutely fascist and absurd too, because that's right out of the fascism book, that look, you can't show any dissent from authority in public. I mean, these are people known for having wife beaters, drug addicts, alcoholics, all sorts of devious personalities that play football. And the thing that they can't tolerate is dissent. They can't tolerate civil protest. It's absolutely the most fascist thing. And it's so crazy because, these are the people who are claiming that Democrats are being the fascist ones. But when you can't say things, when you can't do anything on a field, that actually is the definition. When you can't dissent publicly to something that you find abhorred, that is fascism. That's how that works. We have a lot of work to do in this country, and I don't know how long, if ever, we're going to take to get back to being a place where ideas mix and mingle, where it's good for minorities, and we are a quality run country. But if you're listening to me out there, please, if you know somebody who's not voting, get them to vote. Talk to everyone. Put out the importance of what it means to vote. And stand strong together. We need to unite blue. Until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you all very much. Best of wishes to November and moving forward with all the Dems and beautiful, beautiful Dems that are running for office. Check them all out on Twitter. I am on Twitter at it's Rachel Osiris now. So find me there on Twitter. Have a good night, everyone.